A parted anchor chain and improper charting led to a vessel loss. This is from the Maritime Exclusive, and it was published on the 11th of February 2025. An inadequate anchoring operation and failure to use available charts to identify depths and charted rocks led to the loss of a cargo vessel operating in the U.S. Virgin Islands, reports the National Transportation Safety Bureau, or NTSB. The Bureau issued a report highlighting a series of errors during a storm that contributed to the total loss of a small cargo vessel valued at $1.5 million and an heroic action by the U.S. Coast Guard to rescue 12 people from the stranded ship. The cargo vessel Bonnie G, 780 gross tons, built in 1981, stranded off the rocks of St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands on October the 4th, 2023. While it was waiting out bad weather, which had prevented it from docking. The ship, which had been built as an offshore oil supply vessel for the Gulf of Mexico, had been converted in 2020 to a cargo operating vessel. It was 172 feet long. The cargo ship loaded in St. Croix and departed with 12 people on board at 3:50 p.m. for an anticipated 7.5-hour trip to St. Thomas. The captain told NTSB that he was unaware that there were tropical storms to the north. There was a small craft advisory and a forecast of winds 10 to 15 knots and gusting to 25 and seas up to 9 feet. The captain determined the weather was acceptable and decided to get underway. When he reached Red Point on St. Thomas around midnight, the weather had deteriorated and the port advised that a barge had broken away from its mooring and was partially blocking the dock for the Bonnie G. The captain decided to anchor and wait out the storm. He told the investigators he thought the area was maybe 23 to 26 feet deep, and he ordered 135 feet of chain and set a watch and an alarm before leaving the bridge. An able-bodied seafarer was on watch at 1:20, and the captain returned to the bridge after hearing a noise. Saying that everything appeared normal, the captain left the bridge. But at 3 a.m., the AB alerted the captain the vessel was drifting. The AB was ordered to heave the anchor as the captain planned to get underway, but the AB reported that the anchor chain had parted. Minutes later, moving at just 0.8 of a knot, the Bonnie G ran aground on a rock. Unable to get the vessel free, the captain told the U.S. Coast Guard that they needed to abandon ship. The U.S. Coast Guard reported conditions were a sustained 24 knots, gusting to 33, and seas 4 to 8 feet, with less than 1 mile of visibility. They were able to recover the people on the Bonnie G. The boat remained on the rocks and was later salvaged. It had flooded and had extensive damage, leading it to being a total loss. The NTSB cites a series of errors. They believe the captain made an erroneous assessment of the water depth, which was actually 68 feet, where he attempted to anchor not 23 to 26 as he had assumed. He did not check the charts available on the vessel, and an inadequate scope of chain was deployed when anchoring. The NTSB believes that led to the anchor chain parting. When anchoring a vessel, a length of anchor chain that is 5 to 7 times the water depth should be used, and even more anchor chain should be used in bad weather. Getting underway, the NTSB reports the captain also did not use available onboard navigational charts to identify a rock nearby. And when maneuvering after the anchor chain failed, he inadvertently steered directly into the rock and grounded the vessel. As a result, the hull was breached just forward of the engine room. The chief engineer told the NTSB he was in the engine room and saw the flooding and became fearful. The NTSB reports that the forward watertight door to the engine room on the Bonnie G was open and not secured before the crew abandoned the vessel. Investigators determined that had the watertight door been shut as required, it is likely that progressive flooding of the engine room and aft spaces would not have occurred, limiting vessel damage. The NTSB concluded the report, warning that when anchoring, mariners should review navigational charts and other sources to become familiar with nearby hazards. The heavy weather conditions increased the risk and the potential of having to get underway on a short notice. This guy in charge of this vessel didn't do anything right. Not even check the forecast. Didn't check the water depth. Didn't check the charts. He didn't do anything right. Did have a little bit of bad luck, but sometimes you create your own bad luck. It was unfortunate that a barge broke away and he wasn't able to tie up to the dock where he wanted to or where he needed to, so he had to anchor. Might have been a lot better just to ride it out. Sometimes dropping the anchor in a storm is not necessarily a good idea, but not checking the water depth, that's just insane. Not knowing he was anchored next to a giant rock. How do these people get their license? Does make you wonder, that's for sure. The good thing here, the Coast Guard managed to get everybody. All 12 got to go home to their family. That's always the main thing. But come on, they didn't do anything right here, especially the guy in charge. Just makes you wonder, that's for sure. Alright guys, there it is. As always, thanks for watching. If you're new here and you like these kind of videos, don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and we'll see you on the next one.